Good morning, Jay. Tell me a little bit about how this point guard battle is going. I know you've talked about it a little bit, but how are those two guys doing day in and day out?
They're doing good. I think one of the biggest things that you learn when you get up here right away is just the competition level and how everyone pushes each other. And I think that's a little bit of what's going on with Devin and Davion as well. With Davion being older and having, some scars and been through some battles, and him, putting that pressure on Devin. I think they're both getting better just from going against each other every day.
And then, if you could, tell me a little bit about Isaiah Jackson, what you've been seeing from him and his game so far.
I mean, he is a special, special shot blocker. I think he is probably one of the ones that's going to surprise a lot of people this season. Just how he's been playing and his development from the last time I saw him, and where he is today. I think he's a name that people will start to talk about and mention as we start playing games.
All right, we're going to go with John Hale with the Courier Journal, and then Derek Terry, I'll come to you next.
Hey Jay, I'm curious, just what for you is different in the role you're in now as one of the three full-time assistants versus the job that you were hired for a couple months ago?
For me, not really a lot has initially changed. It's some stuff that is a little bit different, but with some of the COVID rules and the stuff that was going on, I was on the court before as well, and I think a little bit of it is just more so on the recruiting front, just some of the stuff I'm able to do now, like initiate phone calls, is just a big part of it.
And then on the recruiting, how much did the performance in the NBA bubble from Kentucky's guys make an impact? We've heard from some recruits who said that really resonated with them as you've been talking to these guys. Do you feel like that has given you all a big leg up?
It's been huge. I think with the bubble is the one thing that could really put a spotlight on us here at Kentucky is just the production rate of when they get there and how early they are able to perform. And a lot of that comes from being here for that year, with the environment they're put in, the coaching, and how Coach Cal coaches them, and just everything they go through. It really prepares you for that. And when you get there, you're able to perform, and that's how you're able to stay for a long time.
All right, we'll go with Derek Terry with the Cats balls, and Jerry, I'll come to you.
They staying with the staff question with Cal kind of reshuffling everything, making more specific roles for everybody. As a coach, I guess just how much do you like that, and how much of an advantage is it for maybe everybody on a staff to have a little bit more of a narrowed approach?
It's great, and one thing about Cal is he's always been innovative, and I think this is just another way for him to show that. And I think a big part of it is, what he had in mind and what he wanted to do with the staff. And I think it's a great idea, and it's something that will benefit us for years to come. I think if he keeps it this way, but I think with him shuffling around and what he's doing, and who knows, it could get reshuffled or whatever he wants to do. He's the boss, so whatever he wants to do is what we're going to do. So that's a big part of it too. But I think it's good that he tells people exactly what they want and what he wants from them.
All right, we'll go with Jerry Tippett, the Lexington Herald leader, and then Kyle Tucker, you'll be next.
Yeah, Jay, I'm hoping you can elaborate a little on the shuffle and how exactly that can be beneficial for years to come, as you say.
Because I think he has a vision, and I think with the landscape of college basketball changing, the landscape of recruiting changing, I think you have to, like he kind of said, you have to stay ahead of it. So if we want to stay the best at what we're doing and want Kentucky to be the best, then we have to stay ahead of the curve. A lot of stuff is coming down the pipe, whether it's name, image, and likeness or the transfer rules. So you have to be able to adjust and know that you have certain people that are attacking certain areas of what you're trying to accomplish.
So was it more of a specifying or better defining what each person will do?
Yeah, and I think it was a little bit of also putting people in their areas that they're really good at, and I think one of the things that people underestimate is Coach Barbie. Tony is a great coach. He's been a head coach in the SEC, and he's been head coach at other places, and I think that also put him in a role to do that a little bit more. And me and Joel being younger and being able to recruit 10 hours a day, as Coach Cal would say, is something, that he put us in that role to be able to do that. So I think he just kind of saw playing to the strengths is what's going to help the staff and help us as a program.
All right, next up, we'll go with Kyle Tucker at the Athletic, and then Gary Graves, you're next.
Jay, I just wondered if you could tell a tangible difference in just sort of the attitude or mindset or demeanor of Olivier Sarr once the weight of you can play was off him, and if that also brought sort of a level of a boost to the whole team.
Yeah, it did for everybody, especially for him because, he was waiting on it for a while. And then when it finally became official, you could see him just kind of take a deep breath. And us as coaches as well, too, because he's a really good player. And he's been playing really good and he's gotten better. His body has changed in the time since I've been here. And he's gotten better since I've been here as well. So you could kind of see everybody start to relax more because, if he wasn't available or if something happened, it changes the whole landscape of the team. So you have to kind of change how you play and where you're going to put people in positions they're in. So, we're all excited for him to be here as well as Jacob.
All right, we'll go to Gary Graves. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, good morning. I guess with all the new faces on this roster, I mean, how much has it helped to have guys like Olivier and Davian to provide that leadership and experience with the younger guys, and where have you kind of seen that play out in their influence?
It just played out in them getting the guys ready for practice. That's one of the biggest things. When you have younger kids and younger teams, some of the stuff from high school takes a while to get rid of. And that's the one thing I don't know how this staff and how Coach Kyle has done this for so long with coaching so many freshmen and underclassmen every year. I mean, it is something completely different than what I have been used to. But I think the one thing that those two have done is just been able to kind of add that sense of seriousness, if that's the right word, to getting prepared for practice and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish for that day.
Thanks.
All right, next up, we're going to go with Matt with College Basketball Review.
Yeah, you had a great track record of developing bigs at Texas, but how will you look to continue that with a relatively young front court at Kentucky?
It's a lot of it is just spending time and getting them to realize, what they're trying to do. As a big, most bigs and some guards too are kind of caught in between not wanting to be a big and wanting to be on the perimeter. And, you're trying to get them to just understand what is your strength and what can you do. And I think the biggest thing is just through time spent in the gym, if it's watching film and just stuff like that, I think is what kind of gets them to understand, there is an avenue and there is a role for bigs still. You don't have to want to pick and pop and shoot threes. If you're good at something, do what you do best a lot, and then you build off of that.
All right, we're going to start circling back some follow-ups. We'll go with John Hale, and then Jerry, I'll come back to you.
Jay, you mentioned all the changes that are coming to recruiting in basketball probably in the next year. With the transfer rule in particular, how do you all get out ahead of that? How do you plan for basically anybody being available next year or your own players transferring? How do you deal with that uncertainty right now?
It's difficult right now. We're still trying to figure that part of it out because, it's hard because you don't want to tamper or be in communication with anybody when they're playing for someone else or any other team. So it's really just wait and see type mode. And you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on everywhere, and then just see what happened after the season over and who comes available and stuff like that. So you just kind of have to keep an eye and a pulse on all of college basketball to kind of see what's going on out there and who's performing well and what conferences and stuff like that.
All right, we'll go to Jerry, and then Kyle, I'll come back to you.
Jay, what was your reaction to Kentucky playing Texas in the challenge?
I was just shook my head. I'll be excited to see everybody down there. I still keep in contact with a lot of the players and the staff and stuff like that. And I was telling some of the people here, they have a really good team. They should be. They have a Final Four team as well. I think we do have a good team here too. So I think it'll be a really good game.
And how would you compare, Jay? I think of Texas as a quote unquote football school, and I think of Kentucky as a quote unquote basketball school. You're in a position to sort of compare. How does it play in your mind?
It's definitely as you put it. That's nothing against Texas or anything, but football is king down there, and in every aspect in high school, middle school, and everything. And just being up here in Kentucky and interacting with people, you understand how big basketball is. Just not the University of Kentucky, but even high school basketball, how they talk about it and know all the players and stuff like that. So it's very refreshing when you're a basketball person to be at a basketball place.
All right, Kyle Tucker, we're going to you, and then John Wong. I'll circle to you first or next. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I know you weren't around him last year, and I know he's not practicing right now, but just being around Keon Brooks, he's sort of the one piece of continuity for a team and even staff now that's kind of a total remake. How much value do you think is going to be there in Keon? What can he bring? What have you already seen him bring in terms of just being that continuity, being that guy that goes, oh, I know how to do this drill, or here's Cal yelling at a freshman and can explain to him, who could be the Cal translator, I guess, to some guys.
Yeah, it's funny because I tease Keon all the time. Is that with him only being a sophomore, he acts like he's a senior. He just has this presence and carries himself like he's been here for 4 years already, and only been there a year. And it's funny because that's how the freshmen look at him too. They look at him like he's a senior. And the one thing I noticed about him, even not being around him last year, but can kind of see is his confidence. He has a great confidence about him right now. I think he's very confident in the work that he put in and over the summer and the time since he's, been away with the COVID or anything. You can really see he's very confident in what he's been doing. And I can't wait till he's back out there.
All right, John Wong, we'll go to you next.
Hey, Jay. Cal put out a video the other day, and he talked about how this team has never had a bad practice. We kind of roll our eyes when we hear that because it seems like that his teams never have a bad practice. What is it about a Calipari practice that makes it so effective?
The one thing that I noticed right away is two things. One, he doesn't get enough credit for how good a basketball coach he is, like a pure basketball coach. I know he's a Hall of Famer and all that, and I understand that, but he doesn't get enough credit for his basketball mind. And then the second part is he understands what he has, as in having 10 new guys, and it's probably been the same way for multiple years in a row. So he knows how to coach, and that's the one thing I'm adjusting to, because some stuff, I've been around, and at Texas we had an older team the last couple of years, so some stuff, you kind of expect them to know and go through like that. But with freshmen, you have to coach every possession, every drill, every second, and that's the one thing that you really pick up is for him and where he is in his career. For him to still be able to do that, that is a sign of him loving what he does and loving the kid.
Now, we haven't had a chance to see too many of his practices, but the ones that we have seen, he's extremely hands-on.
Yep.
With you being an additional teacher out there on the court, do you think that he's going to maybe relinquish the reins a little bit and let you run a few of these things?
He gives us as a staff some of the, the defensive stuff and some stuff he wants to go to. But I think a big part of him being hands-on is really a big part of it being successful, because at the end of the day, there is only one head coach. And I always have been an advocate of the head coach having the biggest voice in the gym. And I think he does a really good job of that, but he also does a really good job of empowering some of the assistant coaches to do some stuff. But I think with him being very hands-on is a big part of the success here.
Guys, we got about 4 minutes left here. I'll go to Larry, Jerry, and John, and then we'll see where we're at.
Jay, do you believe in kind of recruiting momentum, just like anything else? Like if one guy commits, does it make it easier to get another commit? And do you kind of get on a good roll in recruiting, just like you can in shooting or something?
Exactly. Exactly. I think you do. And I think, right now we got a good little mojo going. So hopefully we can keep it going here the next couple of weeks. And I think a big part of it is, at the end of the day, I think really good players want to play with really good players. So a lot of the time in recruiting, a lot of people think that it's all individualized, and some of it is, but at the end of the day, it's about winning games and winning championships. And to do that, you got to have really good players.
What kind of advice does John or guides does he give you when it comes to recruiting?
The biggest thing is just making sure that the people we are recruiting and the people that we are trying to get here are people that fit him and fit, the culture here. If you're not going to work hard, if you don't love the game, if you're not about basketball and, understanding that you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit because there's other good players, and getting everybody to get what they want out of it, you can do that by sacrificing. And I think that's a big part of it, is understanding what type of kids will fit well with him. And when you find that, that's how you are able to win games.
Actually, going to go to Austin Miller next, since he hasn't asked one yet. So, Austin, go ahead.
Jay, this is typically the time when the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
You're all still practicing. Is there any anxiousness with the staff and players about actually playing games now versus just practice?
Not yet. I think that'll probably come here in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the first game. But we've done a good job, or at least Coach has, a structure in practice where they're able to get up and down and play a lot of 5-on-5. So they're getting a little bit of it like that, and that's when it gets really competitive and they lose their self in practice, is when we're going up and down. So I think they're getting enough of it on that end. I think in the next couple of weeks, as that date starts to become closer, that anxiousness will pick up a lot.
All right, Jerry, we'll circle back to you for one more, and then John, I'll let you end it off.
Jay, I wonder what impression Brandon Boston has made on the coaches so far.
He is a natural basketball player. I mean, he just plays the game, and he's got great size. He can really shoot. He's really good, like off the ball, coming off screens and moving without the ball, and he can play with the ball. He has good vision. He's a good basketball player. And, for him to be so slight of build, he never looks like he's getting like physically manhandled, if that's the best word. He plays with a kind of a slim strength and he's got a good quick twitch to him. So, you can never really touch him because he's already past you. So, I think a part of him is he's got everything there. It's just continuing to create habits within his game that help him carry over all the way through the season.
And also about Zan Payne. I wonder, we've been waiting for more than a year now. Where is he at, do you think, in terms of contributing, and how could he contribute?
Zan's coming along. I think he had, I don't know how long ago that knee injury was. I think in high school his senior year. And he's coming along from that, but he's starting to get to where he is able to come in practice and get some things done. He practiced well yesterday. He was in a bunch of the 5-on-5 stuff. So I think he'll start to get more and more comfortable as time comes along and he gets back, to having confidence in that knee.
All right, we'll end it off with John Hale.
Jay, there's been a lot of talk about what position Terrence Clark plays. What do you describe him as, and how much can he play with the ball in his hands?
It's funny, him and BJ can play, with the ball. They can play without the ball. The one thing with Terrence is he has a knack to score. That's kind of just his thing. And he's a person that, is shocking. You can post him up. You can play him in pick and roll. You can kind of put him anywhere. So it's a little bit of a thing with him and Brandon is that, they're able to do a lot of stuff. And I think with Terrence, the one thing that I didn't really realize is how big he is. He really is 6'7". So he has great size, and his ability he plays to his size, which a lot of young kids really don't do a lot. So that's one benefit of him. And I think positionally, he's just a guard and you can kind of just put him out there and he can do a bunch of different things. I don't think he fits in one lane at all.